that big triangle there, because this is 30 and this top one's 90, that must be 60 degrees. Which makes that little one there, I gotta go back, I'll put that back on there. So we now know that this is 60 degrees, which means this little angle right here is 30 degrees. You have to know the special right triangle rules and how to find angles of a triangle. All right, so we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle here where I have the one across from our 60 degrees is my s square root of 3. The one across from my 90 is my 2s. The one across from our 30 is going to be our s. So whatever I get here is going to be my s. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. All right, so the first thing I'm going to look at is what one has a number on it, and that is our 27. That is equal to s square root of 3. So for this one, I'll have s square root of 3 equals 27. I would divide both sides by square root of 3, and we'll have s equals 27 divided by square root of 3. Multiply the top and bottom by square root of 3, and I'll have 27 square root of 3 over square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. Does 3 go into 27?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. So I have to do that division. You have to do that division. You have to simplify it if possible. 3 goes into 27 9 times, so that's 9 square root of 3. So for this problem right here, my s equals 9 square root of 3. That means my x would be 2 times 9 square root of 3, which would be 18 square root of 3. So x would be 18 square root of 3. It turns out that's the only number I can get. So then I have to go ahead and go, oh, you know what? That 9 square root of 3 is going to go right here. That means I have this right triangle right here. That's a 30, 60, 90 that has my y, z, and a 9 square root of 3. I'm going to pick a different variable because I already used s. Give me a letter that's not up there. A. So I'm going to label the one across from 60 degrees a square root of 3. The one across from 30 degrees is going to be a. The one across from my 90 is going to be 2a. That's the same thing as s, 2s, s squared root of 3. Now, here's a nice shortcut. If a squared root of 3 equals 9 square root of 3, a must equal 9. You have an a in this. I don't have to do any division. I can just go ahead, because of this fact, right here, let me put a little divide. That fact right there, because s squared root of 3 equals 9 squared root of 3, that must mean that s equals 9. And if I divided both sides by square root of 3, the square root of 3's would cancel out, and I'd be left with 9 as well. That means y is 2 times... Oh, I should have a's. I'm sorry. I actually specifically created a's, and I went back to s's. That's how ingrained they are in me. All right, so my a equals 9. Y would equal 2, 9, which would be 18. And z would just equal our a value. And so z would just equal 9. Hogan, do all those steps make sense?
Yeah.
I figured you were just kind of looking off. You're like, I got it, man. Yeah.
So that only works if the square roots are the same?
It only works if the square roots are the same. So if this would have been a squared root of 3 equals 9 square root of 2, we'd have to go through all those steps. But as long as the square roots are exactly the same, so notice the only thing difference between these two is a and 9. So that means a has to equal 9 for this to be a true statement. Okay? It's a nice little shortcut so you don't have to do any work. Like a lot of times you could do it in your head then. And usually on these double triangle one, there's usually one that's hard to get and one that's easy to get. That's usually kind of the rule that a lot of them follow by. All right, other questions? Yeah? 16? Do you have a specific question? Because I don't feel like running through the entire thing. Should I just start it or?
Yes, please.
Okay. The good thing about this one is we have a 30, 60, 90, and we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So I'll get you to the other triangle. How's that sound? All right. So a 30, 60, 90 triangle means the one across from our 30 degrees is our S. The one across from our 90 degrees is going to be our 2S. The one across from our 60 degrees is going to be our s square root of 3. So let's circle the one we have a value for. So I have a value for that one. Okay, so I'll have 2s equals 16 square root of 3. I'll divide both sides by 2, and I'll come up with s equals 8 square root of 3. Does that all make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So if s equals 8 square root of 3, notice how this x equals s? So I have my x value. I have my x equals 8 square root of 3. But the hard thing is going to come in here. This is where people get confused. This is s squared of 3, and my s is 8 square root of 3. So picture what I'm about to do with, I'm going to draw a whole bunch of arrows to hopefully make it a little more sense. So I'm going to take that 8 square root of 3, I'm going to plug it in that s. Then I'm going to take that whole thing and I'm going to put it right underneath it. So I have s squared of 3, I plug in 8 square root of 3 for s, so I'll have 8 square root of 3 times square root of 3. I'll say that one more time. S equals 8 square root of 3. I plug it in for that s. So I'll have 8 square root of 3 times square root of 3 because I got that square root of 3 that's just hanging there. All right, so now I'm going to do that multiplication. That multiplication is 8 times the square root of 3 times 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is just 3, though. It's square root of 9, which equals 3. 8 times 3 equals 24. Now I plug 24 in for that side. And now I do the same thing with, I do a normal 45, 45, 90 triangle, but with 24 as that. Do you think that's enough help on that one?
Yes.
Okay. Did I make mistakes somewhere on there? No, we're good. We're good. Yeah. 12? 12, we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, right? So we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The one across from our 30 is going to be my S. Hey, anyone who's struggling with this, if you're not labeling your entire triangle, there's not much I can do for you. So if you're struggling with these, and there are people in here that are struggling with these, if you do not label your triangle correctly, there's not much I can do for you because you're not putting forth the effort to understand this stuff. So, and I'm not saying you're in that camp at all. I'm just holistically saying that. All right, so the one across from 30 is my S. The one across from my 90 is 2S. The one across from here is my S square root of 3.
Is it always square root of 3?
It is always square root of 3. Every single, that's why I told you to label it. It's always the same. 30, 60, 90s are always S, 2S, S square root of 3. 45s are always S, S, S square root of 2. Always. That's why we can do these rules. All right, so now I can circle the one that I have information about. I have information about this one. So I have S square root of 3 equals 4 square root of 21. I'll divide both sides by square root of 3, and I have S equals 4 square root of 21 over square root of 3. Now, when we covered this that one day, I told you we had two options here. We can write this as square root of 3 times square root of 3, or we can write this as one big square root symbol. So this could be rewritten as 4 times basically the square root of 21 over 3. That's going to make this a little bit easier because I can see that 3 goes into 21. Just like multiplication, division can be smushed together. So now I have this just equals 4 square root of 7 because 21 divided by 3 is that square root. And once we have S, everything else is pretty easy because my X would just be that 4 square root of 7. My Y would be 2 times 4 square root of 7, which would be 8 square root of 7. Is that good? Everything checks out? Okay, awesome. Yeah.
17.
17. 17 says find the perimeter, the distance around this triangle. Well, this triangle has 60 degrees, so this must be an equilateral triangle. But that's not the big deal. Well, kind of a big deal because we know all the sides are the exact same length. So I really just need to find this. and I'm done. Because we have 60s, they're all 60s, that means it's an equilateral triangle, so I can go ahead and put tick marks on these and say I just need to find one of them. And then I'm done. All right, so this triangle right here is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Let's label it. The one across from 30 degrees is going to be my S. The one across from my 90 degree is going to be my 2S. And the one across from my 60 is going to be my S square root of 3. So that means my S squared root of 3 equals 4 square root of 15. Does that make sense? All right, so my S square root of 3 equals 4 square root of 15. And this is going to go back to Zavar's problem 2, where we're dividing by square root of 3. So I'll have S equals 4 square root of 15 over square root of 3. I told you with division, we could turn it into one big square root. So this is really 4 times kind of that 15 over 3. This isn't the perfect way to write it, but I just want you to start picturing that. That 15 divided by 3 is 5, so that S would just equal 4 square root of 5. Well, this arrow is a terrible place for it, but we know we're looking for either this side or this side. Doesn't matter which one I'm looking for. This is going to be 2S. So this length right here, is going to be, maybe I'll change my color because it's starting to get a little sloppy. I should probably have a better way to do this. But this side right here is going to be 8 square root of 5, which means all of these sides are 8 square root of 5. 8 square root of 5 plus 8 square root of 5 plus 8 square root of 5 is going to be 24 square root of 5 for the perimeter. Okay? All right. Yeah. Do you have a specific question on 4? Are you thinking the key is wrong? Let's check. Okay, so I would label the one across from 30 degrees as my S, the one across from 90 as 2S, and the one across from my 60 degrees is going to be my S square root of 3. All right, let's circle the one that I have information about. I have 2S equals 34. Let's write that out. 2S equals 34. That means S equals 17. That means Y would equal 17. X would equal 17 square root of 3.
So whenever it's 2S equals a number, do you cut the number in half?
Yeah. That's the algebra, right? Because 2S has to equal 34. 2S equals 34, so S would have to equal 17. You're always solving that equation. You're always solving an equation. Always. Even if I have, so if I go to, which one would probably have one that's easy? So even if you have one that goes straight to S equals something, that's still an equation. S equals 4. I'm solving that equation. It's just already solved for me. You're always solving something to get S. Okay? All right. Anything else? All right. Then the rest of the lesson is your homework. It is just your